Hey everyone, welcome back to Persona 5 Strikers. Well, sort of. So I finished the game in the last video, and I was thinking that I should show some of this off. So when I pre-ordered the game, it came with this code for some DLC, and that DLC came with some bonus material like the art book, soundtrack, and some behind-the-scenes stuff. So I figured that not very many people will have this posted up on YouTube, so I think it's kind of neat if I show it off, and because I know not everyone has access to this since it is a pre-order thing. So maybe we'll have a little bit of time going through the art and the soundtrack and talking about it a little bit, because I think they're pretty neat. So this is kind of different than a usual video. So let's start by looking at the art book. So this art book contains spoilers for Persona 5 Strikers, so that's why I also haven't opened this thing since getting the game until after I beat it just the other day. So when you get this thing, you enter a code on the PlayStation Store and then you download and it adds it to your menu screen. So it's actually not in the game itself, so this is a separate app than the game. So let's hide the UI, there we go. So the cool thing about this art book is it has a lot of pictures, and you can also click on them separately. So here's protagonist, Arsene, and you can kind of select the different things and have a look at them closer. So here's our Joker. You know, I can toggle his mask on and off, which is kind of neat. I can zoom in. So I was able to find artwork of all the characters like this online when it was just them posing without their personas. And then I found pictures of them, like mobile wallpaper pictures of them from Atlas, where it's a picture of them with their persona but it's cropped. So I actually wasn't sure if pictures like this existed with them with the persona in the background, other than Joker. I found it for Joker very easily, but not for the other characters. All the ones I found were either already put on backgrounds or they were cropped, so it's kind of nice to have like some high-res pictures of these, because I think they look really cool. I think they're a lot cooler than the regular Persona 5 art. Here's Arsene. I think he has a really cool design. I mean, it's always a shame, I think, the Persona protagonists, starting from Persona 3, because I'm not familiar with 1 and 2, their initial persona is really cool because it reflects them, but you don't use it for very long. Like, Orpheus only learned like a couple skills, so you couldn't really justify using him longer than that. And then Izanagi, same thing, he didn't learn very many skills past like what you need for maybe the first dungeon. Arsene learned a little bit more, so you could use him for a little bit longer, but I think it's a bit of a shame that you don't get to actually use your default persona for longer. Although, you know, near the end of the game you get like a cool version of them. Here's the swimsuit designs. I love the yukata. Oh, this is for when you respond to someone in the game, his face appears on the right-hand side like this. I really like Joker, just in terms of his design. Mostly because when I first saw him, I was like, oh, he's just, you know, nerdy guy. He's got the short black, kind of messy hair, wears glasses, doesn't look really cool. Then he changes into his Phantom Thief outfit and he acts all cool and badass, and you're like, whoa. And I think I really relate to characters that kind of look like Joker just because I look kind of similar. Like, of course, I'm not saying I look like Joker, but being Asian with black short hair, having to wear glasses, you know, and I don't have that much confidence in my physical appearance. I mean, I think I've gotten better, but like I don't think I'm I don't look cool. I mean, some people might say that to make me feel better, but I mean, it's nice to see, what I'm trying to say, it's nice to see protagonists that I can see some of myself in, right? Instead of having, you know, protagonists with bright, flaming red hair, or like blue hair, or like wacky designs that you would never see in real life. It's kind of nice to have a grounded protagonist in appearance, at least, to relate to. So again, like, I found a picture of Ryuji like he is here, but I couldn't find Captain Kid behind him, so that's why in the thumbnails for these videos I use pictures of the Phantom Thieves, but they don't have their personas behind them. And I think the personas add so much to it, because look at the way he's posing with Captain Kid. I think it looks really cool. So it's unfortunate I couldn't find that type of artwork, at least a high-res one, online. I really like the poses for the Phantom Thieves just because they're really dynamic. Like they're like in the middle of an attack or something like that. And the coloring is really nice too. Just toggle his mask. I really like the style of Persona, just like the art style, like a simple hairdo like Ryuji's. They make it look really good, and I like his expression here, like the little lines to give him that scowl instead of just having the eyes, nose, and mouth. They add a little bit more to his face. Kind of that exaggerated belt too. Looks pretty cool. And also, I mentioned this before, but I'm glad that they stuck with the original personas instead of like their upgraded personas by the end of the game, since I always think the first personas look better for most people. And he's got his ship down there. Ryuji's like baggy pants that just give him this weird silhouette. Like I said, it kind of looks like he's lowriding sometimes because his shirt goes so far down, his pants are so like loose here in the crotch region. It's like pretty disproportionate, which is kind of unique. I like this camo fanny pack he's got here. Ah, yeah, Daredevil. It's good that they gave him more outfits. I mean, I know they have more outfits in Royal, but I haven't played Royal. Like, they're simple, but they have a little bit of flair to them. See, again, like, this has a really cool flow and motion to it with the whip. I've never been a huge fan of Anne, just because I think she's, like, her outfit and her concept lean too much into, like, the overly sexy kind of look, but she is really pretty. Look at those legs. The whip looks really good here too. I love Carmen though, like her big flowy dress, and the fact that she has this like these guys with her and she's stepping on one of them here. He's like madly in love, reaching out. Look at all those folds. And this guy, every time she like attacks, she like swings him around. It's pretty cool. She's got a really neat design. It was also nice having the characters dressed in like their casual wear for this game instead of like their school uniforms. Because I think the school uniforms are cool. I like how everyone wears their uniforms slightly unique. But it's kind of nice to see them in casual wear too, show off their personalities that way. And I realize that this is like quote-unquote concept art, but the whole idea of concept art as an industry is usually the ones they release to the public are actually the nicer looking, closer to finalized versions, and the actual concept art is actually, you know, a lot more rough. So this is another nice picture of Morgana posing with Zoro. Again, like I could only find pictures online of Morgana alone without Zoro in the background, so it's nice having them juxtaposed together. You know, I always have what's the word? Like when it comes to mascot characters, I'm a bit like holding my breath sometimes, because sometimes they turn out a little too annoying or like pointless or like silly, but Morgana works pretty well. Very cute, but still like cool, especially the way he fights. Zoro looks really cool here. Oh, that belt. It's so intricate. It's got this like interesting V-shape body. Aw, kitty Morgana. Kind of find it funny that in the original game you don't see this portrait of Morgana until the very end of the game, even though like he's a cat in the real world, but yet they always use these portraits for him talking in the real world until the end. Kind of like a reverse surprise, I guess. This is a really interesting pose. I think it has a really interesting arc to it, the way he holds his katana in his sheath, but it looks really uncomfortable. And you also don't get much detail on his outfit because of the way he bends his body. It looks like he's almost winking, the way his hair covers. Yusuke is a character that I thought he was going to be super cool when you met him and like really standoffish, and he turned out just to be a weirdo, which I still like, but our first introduction to him in the game was very strange. Also, I still don't... I mean, not that I don't know, but I mean, it's kind of funny how he has a fox tail just dangling from his outfit. I like his mask, though. His mask is really cool. Of course, his persona very kabuki inspired. I like the pompadour he has. He looks so silly. He looks so happy to be in this swimsuit. What am I doing here at the beach? Where are all the lobsters? I do like how a lot of games nowadays, when they have characters with swimsuits, they actually, you know, add some extra accessories and embellishments to make the swimsuits look unique. I mean, sometimes they turn out a little ridiculous or they look impractical, but like I'm looking specifically at Grand Blue Fantasy because they've released a lot of summer characters, and a lot of the summer designs are actually really neat. Although you look at that and you're like, you would never go to swim with all those extra sleeves or cloths draped over the character, but they look unique. I think it's more unique than just throwing someone in swim trunks or a bikini. So, and also they draw really nice art and nice poses and add extra background elements. So I really appreciate that instead of going the lazy way with very plain swimsuits. I mean, not to say that Persona has plain swimsuits. I do like everyone's swimsuits did have a bit of uniqueness to them. Why is this picture so much smaller than the other one? Still doesn't look very happy. I like the little t-shirt designs they show us. I think the swimsuits and the yukatas really fit everyone in this game though. Obviously, like Grand Blue Fantasy is a gacha game, so they're trying to sell the characters, that's why they make them look a little bit more extravagant, but yeah, Yusuke is definitely a character that grew on me. Makoto, my girl. Oh yeah, her picture comes attached to her persona since her persona is a bike. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so like the picture works alone by itself, in addition to working with the bike. I was wondering why she had such a long, weirdly silhouetted picture. Makoto has such an interesting design because I like her because she, like in the real world, she looks kind of, not like plain, but compared to some of the other characters in the game, she looks a bit more plain, but that's what I like about her and her like preppy outfits. And then she wears this like Iron Maiden looking mask and like an executioner kind of outfit. It's pretty cool. And she punches, so that's definitely something I like. I like characters that use martial arts. Oh, her face looks so happy. Think about all the detail that went into drawing like a motorbike when they could have just done a normal persona, but they didn't. This casual outfit is a little slightly punkish compared to something I would expect Makoto to be wearing. Just because in the first game she wore a lot of like preppy outfits. And it's like showing off her inner self coming out. I mean, I really liked Makoto, but Naoto from Persona 4 is still my top favorite. Followed closely by probably Akihiko from Persona 3. I like him too. I think in Persona 3, I can't remember if I dated Mitsuru in that one. I think I wanted to, but she requires like really high knowledge level, and I didn't have that at the time in the game, so I think I went with like Chihiro or something, which I don't usually date like a non-party member because I know you get less cutscenes with them. I think if I wasn't dating Makoto in Persona 5, I would have picked shoot, I can't remember her name off the top of my head now, the Shogi girl, just because she was cute too. I mean, I like Takumi too, but she's a lot older than, well, actually I don't know what age she is, but she's older than you, and so I didn't really feel like a romance route with her would be appropriate. I always liked the homeroom teacher social links too. Kawakami was funny. Like, I wouldn't pursue the romantic route for her, but I just like how it went. And then the one from Persona 3 with Toriyumi, I really like that one too, because it was very unexpected. Oh, look, she's wearing her glasses underneath it, I guess. I love her Persona's design because it's like a UFO with like tentacles, so it's very like Cthulhu-esque, but why do we have to have all this fan art of her like getting wrapped up by the tentacles, right? It's just totally uncalled for. Oh, Japan. I think it's a bit more interesting than Fuka or Rize's support personas, because they were both ones where they like surrounded their user with like a bubble or with the glasses, which was neat, but having like an actual UFO come and abduct you into it is kind of cool, especially since she's a hacker. I like this outfit of hers. I also like how her glasses are like kind of dropping down her face, so her eyes are on the frame instead of the glass. It just kind of gives her that like introverted look. It's a beauty thief. still find it so interesting that she uses an axe. Like, you don't expect that when you met her in Persona 5, and suddenly she just pulls out this axe and uses that. Like, where'd she get the idea for that? I kind of wish that more people in the Persona series use just everyday average weapons. Like, ones that you would not be able to just... like, items that you would normally not consider weapons. Kind of like Kanji from Persona 4. He just starts off with, like, a chair, and then you get, like, random bludgeons that you can use, but then he eventually upgrades to, like, shields. Or like how Yosuke starts off with, like, wrenches, and, like, that's very believable. You know, you kid sneaking around some wrenches on him, but then he upgrades to, like, daggers. So, or the main character with the baseball bat and then with katana. I just think it's kind of inconceivable that you just easily be able to find an axe, right? I mean, I know they bought weapons from, like, the shady weapons dealer, and then in Persona 3 they bought it from, like, the police, but I just think it's neat to see quote-unquote joke weapons a little bit more, or like realistic things that a high schooler will be able to get their hands on without being too suspicious. See, that's why everyone should just be a martial artist, and you don't need a weapon, right? I really like Milady's design. She has the eyes on her like opera mask thing, and she doesn't actually have a head. And then she has like a face on her dress with all the guns coming out, kind of like that robot from Nier Automata that I cannot remember off the top of my head right now. Carmen's so cute. She joins you quite late in Persona 5, so I'm glad she got more screen time in this game to kind of, well, not to say like make up for it, but just to see more of her. Interesting that they don't include the Phantom Thief outfit portraits here. Maybe it's because those ones were originally created for Persona 5 and not for Strikers, so there was no need. Oh, also I like how every time I saw the pictures of the Phantom Thieves in like this artwork, whenever I saw them alone, they would have their mask on, but then whenever they had their persona out, then they would have their mask off. That's good attention to detail, just because, you know, they need to take off their mask to summon their persona. You can select their persona separately from here. Okay. Sophia! See, like, I don't think yo-yos would be very deadly of a weapon. I mean, they work in video games. Obviously, there's a lot of characters in video games that use yo-yos, but I mean, like, near the end, when Ichinose turns her against us, it's like, oh my god, she's so powerful, she's hitting us with yo-yos. It just doesn't have the same impact. Oh, her head kind of goes out of the hood a little bit. I didn't notice that her stockings changed too. Her heart ponytail thing is kind of odd though. I mean, it's a nice flare of design, I'm just not sure if it works with this universe. Same with the fact that her portrait was still a lot more saturated than everyone else's, I felt. Oh, so there's no Art of Pandora here. It's just the other one. Oh, I can change it. Oh, there we go. Kind of a strange look for Pandora, too. Does she have to look so sexy? Or, like, her feet and hands are disjointed. That's kind of cool. See, look, like, when you look at this picture, it's so washed out, you can hardly tell, like, what's her skin and what's her hood or whatever. I like her emote eyes, though. I always like characters that do that. It's kind of neat. Oh, look at this picture of her all huddled up. cut in. Her design also kind of reminded me of the Space Channel 5 girl, Ulala, or whatever her name is. Just like in terms of silhouette. And along with like Sophie from Tales of Graces, which I mentioned before. Oh, that's it. Senkichi! His outfit's so, like, it looks cool, but then like the more you look at it, the stranger it looks. He looks even stranger without the mask on, because like the mask adds so much coolness to it, and without it, he doesn't look as cool. Same with his Showtime attack when he like blows the smoke from his gun at the end, but he doesn't have his mask on. It looks kind of weird. And I mentioned how it looks strange from the back, because like you think he has this like tall like collar on his jacket, but then you turn around and like it goes up into his hat. Like it's so strange. Cool persona. Like his cage hands. Oh, this hand is inside the cage. The other one is outside the cage, and the cage is like in his palm. Or maybe it's because, oh no, the maybe they're the same, but then the one on our left here, he's like opening up his hands so the fingers are sneaking out of the cage, while here he's punching. It's kind of nice to have an older man on the team for once. I mean, I know some of the other Persona games, like Persona 1 and 2, have some older characters, but lately we haven't really had that. Or a character that isn't a student, right? See, like his tall collar that goes up into his hat. I really like what they did with Blooming Villain in this game. It sounds really good. I like Blooming Villain a lot in the previous game, but this one really makes it more like of an action game type of thing. But it keeps the same beats. Oh, this one's too big to fit on the screen all at once. Why are these portraits not all the same size? Like, some of them are a little bit smaller than others. Okay, like this part of the music. Like it, I really like it because they use the same part of the song in like the heartfelt moments of the game, kind of like how in Persona 4 they use I'll Face Myself battle version for the bosses, and then there's I'll Face Myself normal version, which is like the aftermath. But then in Persona 5 they call the boss track Blooming Villain, and then like the cooldown emotional music is named completely differently. They don't have the same name, kind of like I'll Face Myself Battle and I'll Face Myself, so it's a bit harder to point them out. I don't remember what the name of the track is that is just the emotional set piece, but I really like the way that they combine them together. Okay, so we get to some NPCs. So we have Ichinose. She has a pretty simple design now that I think about it. But I really like it. I like smart lab coat looking designs. They look kind of, look at that smug smile of hers. It's a shame she didn't have more like key concept art, considering she's a pretty major character by the end. And Akane, she's pretty cute. She looks a lot taller here because we're seeing her full body. Because we only see her like her in-game model and then her portrait from the shoulders up. Yeah, they should have included their portraits here. That would have been nice. She looks a lot younger in the game when you only look at her portrait, but she's like in like late middle school. I love her shadow version because it's almost like if she became a Phantom Thief, this would be her outfit. Although it seems unnecessarily sexy for someone of her age, but I still wish we got to see more of her at the end of the game, or her with Zenkichi, or her saying something to us. We just kind of save her, and then we see her waking up, and that's kind of it. Tony Stark. I realized I'm not the only person that called him that. There were a lot of people online calling him that too when I was looking it up after. I'm pretty sure that was intentional. This is really interesting design. It kind of reminds me of, and I said this before, like, from Basara, like Oda Nobunaga mixed with Azai Nagamasa. I'm really glad they went with the superhero theme with him, just because, well, I mean, the Iron Man thing fits, but I don't know, it's just kind of cool, a little bit of a different thing than Shido was. Okay, it won't let me select the other ones, so I have to zoom in separately. Look at all the details on that mech. Shame I can't zoom in any further. That battle also didn't last super long because it was a two-parter, and by then I changed the difficulty back down to easy. See, she gets her in-game portrait here. Why didn't the others? Nice to see some older women in games and anime, because you don't really see that very much. Let's go down to Owada. He didn't play as much of a role as I thought, which is kind of okay. I didn't really want to go into another jail with him, especially since he just seems like another corrupt, generic politician type of thing. Interesting to note, I didn't know this, but in Persona 5, the palace rulers, a lot of them are based on real-life people, like Kamoshida, Madarame, I can't remember the third guy, the one with the bank. They're actually based on real, like, Japanese scandals, like an Olympic athlete that was caught doing something, or like an artist that was caught doing plagiarism, or a gangster that was or like a politician that was embezzling money. Like, most of them, I think, except for like Shido, and obviously Futaba, and maybe Sai, but the other four, Kamoshida, Madarame, the third guy, and Haru's dad, Okumura, they're all based on, or heavily inspired by, actual Japanese scandals, and like fairly recent scandals too, because ones that happened only just a couple years before Persona 5 came out, which is really fascinating to me that they were able to incorporate those so fluidly despite being fairly recent events. I mean, I guess part of it as a game is a commentary on society, so it's kind of neat. I like Alice's design, even though I made fun of it a lot at the very beginning. I like the pastel colors of her first version, even if her wig is very strange, the way it's kind of off-center, holds up a teapot in the bottle. And you got her shadow version, and they both take like different influences from Wonderland, although this is much more like Kyari Pamu, the Pom Pom Wei 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 singer. Although one thing I found was a really interesting juxtaposition was how her real-life outfit was so poofy, like it wasn't very form-fitting, like it's not what I would describe as sexy, and then you have her shadow version, which is very streamlined, very like skin-tight. It just makes her look like such a different person. And I like how she has like the flamingo wand from Alice in Wonderland. Zoom in on the bunny Alice here. I still wish this one was a little bit more monstrous in design, like maybe she stayed... Well, I know halfway through the battle she switches to standing on all fours, but I feel like if she was on all fours the whole time and she was a bit more like monsterly shaped, it would have been kind of cooler. Natsume. You know, he's kind of the one that doesn't fit in, because, like, Alice we started off with, and then Mariko we were already building up towards because we were already driving to her location because of Zenkichi, so he just kind of pops out of nowhere. He's like the side quest monarch that didn't really matter. His outfit here still makes me think of like this Gaia. Even down to just having glasses still on his outfit. I didn't realize this at first, but Mariko's design is actually based on Margaret Thatcher. I mean, I already kind of thought of it in my head, but I guess I didn't want to say anything, just in case I was wrong, but she really is. The way her hair is and like her like ironclad politics. I still can't believe they made her shadow version so drastically different from her to fit in the gluttony theme. I mean, I still really liked it because it has that perfect balance of like being monstrous, but like still human. But like, I guess that fits more with her transform version. I like how the transform version of her was very monstrous. So I feel like for her like small shadow self, her like before battle version like this, I still think they should have made her look more like her actual self, like just in terms of her appearance. It's so hard for me to think of this as also being her because it's so drastically different, unlike Alice and Natsume's. I mean, I know it was done with a purpose, but still. So let's zoom in on some of these other ones they don't let me. The pictures of him in his underwear and he's looking all cocky. The dragon was kind of neat. I like how it looks kind of nerdy because it had his hair and his glasses and stuff. And the fact that it like, the armor breaks off and you see he's all like skinny and wimpy. It's really perfect for his like design. Look at this thing. Look at the face. It's like, ugh, I'm hungry, feed me. That was a tough battle. That was unforgiving. The fact that you had to drop the chandeliers to make her stop. Or like break all her shields, which is a lot harder than it sounds. Because you have to use up so many resources, but at least she took extra damage during like that. I can't believe I beat her on normal, because she was very unforgiving. Although it did take me a few tries. And the fact that she swallows your party members, so unfair. Okay, so now I can't click and zoom in on these individually, so we'll just look at these. These are all their shadow-specific enemies that are not personas. They'd have a good variety of these. I wish they had a bit more, but... Just thinking about Joker at the very beginning when he jumps on the helicopter dude and then rips off his mask, like... Again, it begs the question, does getting persona powers give you, like, special superhuman, acrobatic, and, like, peak physical conditioning? Because, like, anyone else you jump for that, you get chopped up by his helicopter blades, no sweat. These spiders were scary. They would just jump up and land on you really quickly when they ambushed you. And friggin' lock keepers. Lazy using him as the design for the fourth boss. So here's weapons. Well, I guess we're starting with the yo-yos. I like the little silhouettes of the characters using them. That's kind of neat. And it even shows you how it attaches to their hand. How it looks underneath. That's kind of neat. I know there's a lot more weapons in the game than they're showing here, but I guess they probably recycled a lot of weapons from Persona 5, so that's why we're mostly seeing yo-yos here instead of the other ones. This street sign just makes me think of Shizuo from Durarara. And like all the weapons for the enemies, that's kind of neat. I guess these are mostly for Zenkichi, right? When they hear some of the items that they use to unlock the cages in the jails. This pretty desire jewel. And the little figurine of Featherman. They're very nice locks and brooches. I like these pictures. See, I really like this first dungeon. I still wish we spent more time in the actual Wonderland zone of it rather than just the Shibuya running around. And that includes listening to the music. We heard a lot more of the Shibuya music than we did the Wonderland music. And there's the trash room. And the lockkeeper. This dungeon was kind of annoying just because of all the... Like, it was overly too much parody on JRPGs and stuff, just because obviously we're playing this game, so the person playing this would be a fan of JRPGs and would be very familiar with them, and sometimes the parodies and jokes are funny, but it just felt like too much sometimes in this dungeon. Plus I really wanted to just get through it, right? So it's like, oh, just let me through. Because the checkpoints would be so close together. This was a really cool one too. I saw a comment on YouTube when I was finding the music for this game, and I found the music for this dungeon, and people were like, this is what would happen if Elsa really let it go, in reference to Shadow Mariko's appearance, and I'm like, oh gosh. That's such a good joke, but also... so... yeah. Very pretty though. I like ice-themed dungeons a lot of times in games. I mean, they're usually a pain to get through because of all the slipping and sliding, but I like their appearance. See, this was also a really cool dungeon just because the introduction was so different than what we were playing in the rest of the game. It's just like suddenly it was a horror kind of situation, but at the same time it was a disappointment in the fact that it didn't have a real boss. It was the start of the dungeons getting really short too. It was just a one-way path. That's really cool art. I still like the music track for the Kyoto dungeon because of the way it incorporates the Life Will Change theme. Very fitting for Akane's theme. Again, felt like a cop-out on the boss battle. It was also quite unfair. This one, I still think Akira's dungeon had the coolest, like, musical theme. It was really jamming. Even though it looked more like Tron Legacy. It also meant that we didn't actually walk around Kyoto. Like, even Okinawa, we didn't have very much time to walk around and explore compared to, like, Osaka. But then Kyoto, we weren't even able to go in and walk around, so I feel bad for, like, if you were someone living in Japan and you were looking forward to seeing your city represented in what, like, musical theme they would pick for your city in the overworld, and like, the food that they would associate with it and stuff. You didn't really get that if you were from Kyoto, I guess. Again, I should brush up on my Japanese geography, because a lot of these places I don't know. I know of them, but I don't know where they are in relation to each other. Here's a lot of the backgrounds in the game. Although these were like 3D models in the game, so am I looking at art or am I looking at screenshots with the 3D models? Or were they never 3D models? Were they just 3D models on a 2D background and I just never noticed? Very possible. games have all sorts of really cool things that they do to change your kind of like understanding of how it works. Like, wasn't it like the original Doom is actually not a 3D game, it's actually like completely 2D, and I don't mean 2D as in like the assets were 2D, but like the way the game actually ran and programmed itself was like based around 2D and not 3D or something like that. I remember reading about that. It was very fascinating, learning about how games are made. Kane's room, I love it. I really admire people that are able to draw backgrounds really well, and not only that, but like they enjoy doing it too, because I love this art. This art's really cool. I thought this would be more like what Persona 5 Strikers was. I mean, it kind of was in certain places, like obviously they open with you fighting in the Shibuya crossing, which feels just like this, but I was afraid it would be like an actual Dynasty Warriors game, where it would just be like the dungeon would be just one big map with enemies everywhere roaming around and it's just free battle, or like Basara style. I didn't expect it to be like you touch an enemy, you start a battle, and you get like an enclosed area to fight them, which is kind of nice, because I don't know if the whole Dynasty Warriors thing actually works. When I play Dynasty Warriors, they're always like, they give you this big map, but the map isn't really good because it doesn't exactly show you the elevation and stuff. I remember they would always show me where my objective is, and I would try to take the shortest route, only to find out that there was like a cliff face in the way, and then I have to go all the way around, which was not obvious at all. And then they keep changing the objective on you, and you have to like hop on your horse to get there fast enough, otherwise you don't get there in time. It was really annoying. And then the most recent Dynasty Warriors game, they tried to make it open world, which sounded really good, but like things were so far apart from each other that you had to ride your horse for like 10 minutes, or like set it to auto follow just to get to the next battle, and then you fight for like a couple seconds, and then you clear all the enemies and you have to go somewhere else. It was not a good game, I'm sorry to say. I remember I found a lot of like bugs too. I didn't finish it because I kept finding like annoying bugs. I remember I was like wandering around and I heard like battle music, but there was nothing there. And I was looking around trying to figure out where the enemies were. And I look up the cliff face, and the enemies are like running down the cliff at me, but the cliff is not meant to be traversed, so they're like clipping in and out of it, like they're jumping, and then they're flying into the cliff, and then they're jumping out of it, like as if they're barely able to like keep their heads above water, except it's a cliff face. And it looked so dumb, and then they came raining down upon me, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? This is really cool art. I'm glad that they made the game the way it was, even though it wasn't what I expected. And the Phantomobile was really nice. Very homey. And the fact that you could decorate it up. Good Ryuji on top. I ended up not doing much of the cooking now, did I? Such a miser when it comes to games and items. So then, pictures of Sophia with Zenkichi, the newbies in the party. I like how Joker always looks so like cool and like an actual thief, and then in the actual game he's just a normal dude, or he's a little bit of a dork. But he looks like such a badass in the art. Look at this. Press X, jump. It reminds me of that Cuphead tutorial at the very beginning where it tells you to jump and then double jump. And like for a person that plays platformers like semi-frequently, and for a normal gamer it's okay. One of my friends had a lot of trouble because she doesn't play platformer games, so she was trying to figure it out. And it just reminded me of, I remember reading online, there was some dude, like an actual paid game reviewer, was complaining that Cuphead was too hard. And then like when he showed footage, or when they talked to how far he got, like he couldn't even get past like the tutorial because he couldn't like double jump and glide across like a pillar or something like that. And it was so funny because it was like, are you a professional game reviewer and you're complaining about this game that is meant to be difficult, but you couldn't even get past the tutorial? I mean, not to rag on people that aren't good at games, because obviously different games require different skill sets and it's not everyone's thing, So the different icons. It's kind of cute. I love the UI and the HUD in Persona 5. I see Futaba doesn't have a second one. Oh, look at Sophia's little hearts behind her. Senkichi's look exactly the same, just with different cutoffs of his body. Maybe a slight difference on the shading, but... Location icons were cool too. I like how they went the extra mile to distinguish the places from each other. Even with like little things like this. So especially for like, if someone's not familiar with Japan, I guess they wouldn't realize how different it is across the country, even though it's not a huge country. But there's such differences from like place to place in there. Even like a lot of places in Asia in general. Such different culture in different parts of the same country, even not very close to each other, which is not the same that you can say for like here in North America. Like of course people say things like, oh, the South is very different, or like East Coast versus West Coast, but like that's because everything's also a lot more spread out in North America too, right? While here it's like you hop over just not very far at all and suddenly the culture is very, very different. So I think that's just kind of neat. Learning about cultures is very interesting. These little Bond icons are also really cute too. I like how they include pictures of shadows and some personas like Jack Frost. Hee-ho! Look at poor Jack Frost, the one that looks like he's not very well, and then the one that's like flexing his arms. Graffiti icons, oh. I've always admired graffiti just in the fact that, like, so a lot of these I can't even read them, and yet if you look at graffiti done by different people in different places, like, they use the same type of writing or type of font. It's very interesting because you would expect it to be, because you know how like everyone's handwriting is different, you would expect everyone's graffiti to be very different, but there's still a distinct style to it in the way that the words are written. I wonder if there's a way that you could look up how to like translate or read graffiti. Is there enough of a pattern between different styles? Like some of these, like obviously I can read some of them, like the word clothes or persona, but then there's a lot of them here that I can't. Or there's equip. Is that explorer? No. Yeah, like I can't. I don't know. Item, take your heart. Is that accessories? Weapon. I don't know. Graffiti as an art style is actually really cool. Not the idea of graffitiing like things that don't belong to you, but the fact that they gave all the personas little icons too. I mean, you can see from the quantity that they didn't pick all the personas from the Persona 5 game, obviously. There's too many. I like the little icons for the teammates too, like Goemon's pompadour. Look at Milady. I like how for Hecaton Kyre, they have the arms coming out from it. Look at Mothman. Mothy man. I know this isn't all of them though, because I don't see Alice. I know she's like one of the harder ones to get in this game, or like one of the last ones you get. I actually went and looked up someone playing Persona 5 Strikers with Alice, just to make sure they didn't completely change her appearance. And maybe I didn't recognize it from here. Alice, in a lot of the Persona games, you have to make her specifically with a fusion between Belial and Neburos, because in like one of the Shin Megami Tensei games where she appeared in first, her plotline had something to do with both of those like demons doing something to like resurrect her. I mean, she's based on Alice from Alice in Wonderland, but like a death theme, like her. She asks you, "Die for me," and then they gave her the move "Die for me" with an exclamation mark on the end. I think it's supposed to be "Die for me" with a question mark originally, but then they just went with the exclamation mark. And if you use it in the Persona games, a lot of times they'll have like cards with arms and legs and spears, kind of like the ones from Alice in Wonderland, rain down on the enemy with spears. I think in Persona 5 they changed it, so it was like explosive teddy bears or something like that. I know in this game, she also is really strong because she has like Mudo, and then she has like Mudo Boost, and then she also has Die For Me, which is like the highest form of Mudo, instant kill death attack, and then she also eventually learns the passive that like cuts all your SP skills cost in half, because Die For Me is like 44 SP or something, so it's really big. I remember in Persona 3 I made a really strong Alice, so she had like all the strongest dark attacks, including her own, and then I think I transferred it onto like a Thanatos and gave him Die For Me and other attacks too. But then I believe in Persona 4 and 5 you can't pass on Die For Me anymore because it's Alice specific. Kind of interesting that they had an Alice character in this game, Alice Hiragi, and then they have Alice the Persona still. And that's the end, I guess. Oh, one other interesting fact I want to mention, I almost forgot, was I looked up some stuff on Persona 5 now that I finished the game, and I found out that the voice actress in English for Emma, I think her name's Susan Bennett, she is the original voice of Siri, like Apple's Siri, which is really fascinating, especially because, I mean, obviously Emma is like a spoof on Siri, plus mixed with like the social media thing, but what I find really fascinating too is, imagine you're hired by like a big company like Apple, and they ask you, please voice our digital assistant, Siri. And of course you do that, that becomes sort of like your crowning achievement. And then years later you're asked by a company, hey, we're doing a JRPG, do you want to come voice this evil app that tries to become a god and take over the world? Like, I don't know anything about Susan Bennett. I don't know if she regularly voice acts like animes and games, or if she's more of like something else, but like, I mean, if you weren't familiar with anime and games, it would probably be so weird, like going from just professionally voicing like an app. It's almost like being like a radio host or something, right? And then suddenly being asked to do a game and having to do all this like fantasy talk of like, humans no longer desire salvation, and I am going to enslave all of you and trap you. Like voicing that kind of stuff must be quite a little shock. So the soundtrack has been playing as we've been going through. We've actually gone through quite a bit, actually. Wow. Like Daredevil is a really good track. I really liked it. It had the same feel as I keep wanting to say Change Your Heart, but it's not. Life Will Change. It has the same feel as Life Will Change, but it's a little bit more peppy. So like Daredevil plays before you, or when you go to raid the palace, and then deliver the calling card, and then after that it's Life Will Change. And then What You Wish For is the main battle theme. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I actually didn't notice that What You Wish For is different than Axe to Grind. Axe to Grind is the battle music that plays when you successfully ambush a shadow, and I didn't realize they're different because they play so similarly. I thought it was just the same track but with a different like intro to it, but they're actually different. Loving Wonderland is very good too. And Blooming Villain I already talked about. Actually, let's play them again a little bit. Like Daredevil is this one. Really cool. And like Lotus Juice wrote most of the English lyrics for these songs, and Lotus Juice does a lot of the English lyrics for the Persona games. He's very good at it. I've been listening to this one a lot lately. And then like What You Wish For. then you have axe to grind. Like in the heat of battle, you don't notice they're actually different. Blooming Villain, also very good. Really grew on me. At first I wasn't sure what to make of this remix, but very good. And then Loving Wonderland. Like, this is such a good track. I'm still such a shame that we don't hear it too much in that dungeon. Because you mostly hear Welcome to the Jail throughout most of it. I also like how each city had its own theme, except for obviously Kyoto, because you don't spend time walking around Kyoto. This is Mariko's dungeon. I think, is this one Sapporo or Sendai? No, I think this one's Sapporo. Because this one's Sendai. Wait, no, not that one. That one's the when you're inside the Phantomobile. I think this one was Sendai, right? Our first introduction to being outside of Tokyo in this game, because Tokyo they just played that same music from Persona 5. Singularity. The 4th dungeon theme, pretty cool. I also liked Keeper of Lust Scramble version. In case you're not sure why it says Scramble, it's because this game's called Persona 5 Scramble the Phantom Strikers in Japanese. Because I felt like Keeper of Lust is played for like mini-boss battles in Persona 5, but I was never a huge fan of it. But then this version makes it really jammin', and it makes it actually sound like a battle track. So I really like this one more than the original for sure, because I didn't like the original as much for this one. And then Akane's dungeon, really nice that it had Life Will Change embedded within it, even though it starts off really slow. Now this one, Last Surprise, is the main battle theme from Persona 5. I liked it in that game, and I still like it here, but now whenever I hear it, I just think of that battle with Akane's Joker, because that battle lasted so long and I had to retry it so many times that this music was playing the whole time. I think does it also play when an enemy ambushes you too? I don't think so, actually. I think it's only for scripted battles. And then Akira's dungeon, very cool. Like, it has this long build up to it, but I really like the way that the notes repeat. I'm not a music person, so I don't know all the specific terms to describe music, but I do like the repeating notes and melody and themes behind it. I also like the Rivers in the Desert, because I've always felt like I liked Rivers in the Desert from the original Persona 5, but it has it's a very slow build-up, which works for the context that they play it in, but in this game, because the build-up is a lot shorter, so like that extra like beat in the background really brings up to it. I was actually not a huge fan of Counter-Strike. I mean, you only hear it during the first fight with Koei, and then during another fight, the first one I think with Ichinose when you re-encounter her. I mean, Counter-Strike is kind of like Striker's answer to Rivers in the Desert, really, because it plays during Konoe, but it fits his superhero theme, but no, I'm just not sure if I like it as a regular track. You guys are probably like, I didn't sign up to hear Kiro just talk about music and go through the soundtrack. Well, too bad. And this was the final dungeon. Oh, and this was Ichinose's dungeon. And then the two parts of the battle with the final boss. I mean, I think they're okay tracks. I don't think I'd go back and listen to these final boss musics very much. Even Persona 5, of all the tracks I remember, I don't really remember the final boss track that well. I mean, Persona 4, I didn't really like Izanami's battle theme because it was too quiet and had a long build up to it. I really liked the Magatsu Inaba boss's theme. I think that really felt like a final boss theme to me. And then of course Persona 3 you have the Battle for Everyone's Souls, which is great because it's just the Velvet Room but made into a battle track. Oh, and then there we are at the beginning again. So the last thing I look at is this behind the scenes video, and they talk about behind the scenes making this game in terms of mostly the music. And I haven't actually watched all of it yet because it's quite long. It's like 67 minutes or something like that. And I don't want to sit here and just play it and talk about it with you guys because that's a long time, and I don't feel it's not very original of me just to watch an entire other video and just comment on it. So, and I probably won't have too much to say about it. So what I'll do is I searched on YouTube and I only found like a couple other people, maybe even one other person that just directly put this video up on YouTube, all 67 minutes of it. So I'll put in the link in the description below if you want to go check it out, just because if you're curious and you don't have access to this. I'll show you just the first like little bit just so you know that you're finding the right video. But I'll watch this later. I think it's probably got some really interesting stuff in it, and I love hearing about game development. And it is in Japanese, so it's all subtitled, but like I'm also, again, I'm not a big music person. I used to play acoustic guitar a little bit, but I didn't get very far in it. But I don't have a deep understanding of like specifically what makes music and all the different terms. But Persona 5 and the Persona series in general just have really good musical feel to them, like themes and the overarching like rhythm and the way the music all complements each other. Plus it has like a modern kind of feel to it with an RPG, so I really admire it. So I think this would be a really cool watch to look at later. So yeah, check it out. I'll link it in the description below. And thank you for other people who have posted this video so I don't have to. So, oh, this is the singer Lynn. She sings a lot of the English lyrics for the series. Maybe we'll see Lotus Juice, I think, come in. I think I'll at least get to him. Oh yeah, Lotus Juice, see, they're mentioning it. I don't want to fast forward through this, just because maybe we'll watch a little bit of it then. Oh, okay, so that's what Lotus Juice's lyrics for Lynn to sing over. Like how he's just on his phone while she's concentrating. I really admire people that can do music like this. A lot of people ask me, like in real life, like what kind of music do you listen to? And it's kind of like, oh, here's Lotus Juice. Disruptive behavior. Because a lot of the music I listen to is mostly game music and soundtrack stuff. Just because I don't really listen to regular music. Like I might recognize things that people play a lot, like on the radios or just like in pop culture events and stuff like that, but I don't usually know who sings them or what the name of the song is. I like soundtracks just because a lot of times, well, they don't have lyrics a lot of times, so you get a lot of the feel just from, like, a lot more thought is put into the actual notes in the music than a lot of like songs about people breaking up with their boyfriends or something like that. I feel like there's more meaning to them, and a lot of times because I listen to soundtracks from games that I play, listening to them puts me back in the feel of like, oh yeah, I was listening to this during this boss battle. I was listening to it during... Oh, the music's back. I was listening to it during this, or I remember going through this in my life when I was playing that game, and I'm hearing it now. So it wells up a lot more emotion in me, and then like I might relate it to like a character or a game or like an environment. So I really like soundtracks, but specifically for games that I have played. Like if someone recommends me music and they're like, hey, listen to this, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is pretty good, but it's not from like a game that I have played, so I don't have as much connection to it. So I'm not a person that's very good at having people share their music with me, because I'll just be like, yeah, great, whatever, hey, listen to all these things that I have because they're great and I have an emotional connection to them. So anyways, that was the Persona 5 Strikers bonus content DLC that came with the pre-orders of the game. I'm really glad I was able to share this. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some of this as well. I know it's not something that I usually do for my videos, but I thought it was kind of neat to share just because I knew not everyone would have a chance to have a look at this. So I will be starting my next series soon. I've already picked out which one I'm going to do, so you'll probably see a video coming up in a few days. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would super appreciate it. And other than that, thank you so much again for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!